All right, we'll go with the men's. Since we're on the topic of the Royal Rumble match, we already have alluded to certain events that may happen if Kevin Owens gets into the match, if Sami Zayn is in the match, who's going to win it. So I truly believe this might be one of the most star-studded Rumbles to go into the event itself. I mean, the names already that have been announced, incredible. And it's one of the I have no idea who's going to win. I remember last year you and I breezing through this and be like, Cody, it's Cody. Like, it's Cody. Let's just move on and talk about what Cody's going to do at WrestleMania. We're in 2025, and I could give you 3 people for legit arguments on why they should win the Rumble, and it would be, I would say, an A+ or an A- paper.
Yeah. I'm still kind of torn on this for that reason. Like I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks ago I was really leaning towards Cena. Because there's been the rumors of Cena versus Cody at Mania. I don't love that though. And they teased a lot of things on the Go Home show of Raw. So it definitely left the door open for a lot of different scenarios, different people for Cody to face at Mania, assuming he retains, obviously. And so when I was trying to figure out, okay, like what do I think is the most likely situation to happen, or what is the most interesting result of this? And it's like kind of predictable. However, I feel like there might be an interesting way for it to happen, and that is CM Punk. I am not shy about not being a fan of CM Punk. So do I want to see this man win the Royal Rumble? No, because I thought it was hilarious, the whole thing between him and Drew McIntyre last year. Okay. So like, I don't want to see this man get his glory, but I think the reaction from the crowd that was very rowdy on Raw to this end segment between Cody and Punk, that felt different than I think other things that they've kind of teased about who Cody could face. Like this thing between him and Punk, I think could be massive for Mania. Especially their background and how they got back here, and Cody not being 100% a good guy, because he's like, you're chasing me now. Like, I have what you want. I've done what you want. Like that kind of edge that we haven't really seen from Cody in this run. I like that. And we've discussed how Punk could go about getting this favor back from Paul, right? What if that is eliminating Roman from the Rumble? What if that is the favor? Ensuring that Roman is out.
Sarah, our wavelength on it. That's what I'm thinking. That's the favor. That's because what's the real favor is the main event of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
How do we get that favor? Eliminating the OTC.
Because we could, I don't know who he could enlist, but what if the final 2 is Roman Punk? And the way for Punk to win is somebody comes out and eliminates him or helps eliminate him. I don't know who that could be.
Brock Lesnar.
Oh my God.
That would be just earth shattering.
It would, but at the same time, like he couldn't just come back and do that and then dip. You know what I mean? So like,
it's not a perfect world.
Yeah. But I kind of like that idea because I don't know. That seems more something that maybe Paul would do. It doesn't even have to be that they're the final 2. It could be like, I don't know, somebody comes out and like Paul spoke to him beforehand and is like, okay, I need you to get rid of my guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe the plan starts to fall apart. Like he enlisted a few guys and like they get eliminated and whatever. So it's like, oh shit. But it feels like that would be like a cool way for this to go about it. It also gets heat on Punk, because people are super behind Roman and they're super behind Punk, but how they would go about it if it were down to the two of them, or like, how do you choose? Like, if it looks like Punk maybe enlisted the help of Heyman or somebody else to eliminate Roman, I feel like that would get him heat, which makes sense if he's going to go against Cody. Like, somebody has to be the bad guy. Like, they don't have to be necessarily in this era, but obviously I think it's wise when you're going against like somebody like Cody Rhodes right now, that there is an established bad guy in this situation. And this doesn't mean he's like a full-blown bad guy, but it still is kind of like, oh, how you got here is a little bit questionable. The only issue I would say that arises from this is that if Roman finds out, what happens with him and Punk? Like, do they figure that out before Mania? Like, do they have a match at Elimination Chamber to kind of like squash that beef, or is it another case of like, do they face each other night 1 of Mania, and then whoever wins faces Cody night 2? Like, are we going to do that kind of thing again? It feels like it would have to be something that feels like unfinished business that would need to be dealt with before Punk goes after Cody,
It would. I agree with that.
So that's the only problem I think that comes from that scenario.
You ready for my pick?
Yes.
It's John Cena.
Okay.
John Cena is winning the Royal Rumble. Okay. I hate to break it to you, but John Cena is winning the Royal Rumble.
I'm John Cena's like number 1 fan. You're not breaking anything to me.
Maybe I'm not talking to you directly.
Okay.
Maybe I'm just talking directly to peeps.
Okay.
That I hate to break it to the peeps, but John Cena is winning the Royal Rumble. It only makes sense. Is heavily advertised, so I don't think he wins. He could still be heavily advertised because it's his last tour. Okay, it's his last tour. Cena's going to win the Rumble. It's going to be the way that he gets the championship, and he'll either face Cody or Gunther. It doesn't matter at this point, because you need to have him competing at WrestleMania in a marquee match like this, because he can still go. The issue
do you want him to win 17 at Mania? Because you've said you didn't.
Emotionally and as the fan, yes, I want to see John Cena win 17 at WrestleMania in his final year. I want to see him come out on Raw the next week and show it off and say the champ is here and have him do an open challenge and all this stuff. But when you think of the landscape going on right now, unfortunately, it's just not possible. It would be better off him losing and then working his way to the climb to then win it on his last night, and then he would hand it over, vacated, be a whole segment on Raw, celebrating John Cena and whatnot. That seems like the direction that they are going with the current climate of WWE right now. But back to my point is that the John Cena is going to win the Rumble.
Okay.
And you either like it or you don't. But
I like this idea though, because I don't think Rock is working Mania. But, and when I say working, I mean in a match.
There's been no reports about that.
No, so I think that I think The Rock will be at Mania in some capacity, but he's not currently training like he was last year to have a match. I just don't see it happening. So I don't hate this idea of The Rock being the reason why maybe Roman gets eliminated. If it were in a perfect world, yes, we would get Rock Roman this year, because the people who were upset that we didn't get it last year would just have to wait a year and get it the next year. It doesn't feel like that's what's going to happen. And that would be the main problem I would have with The Rock getting involved, is like, if he's not going to work Mania, then is there a point to him even getting involved? On top of, he basically ended the Final Boss thing on the Netflix debut. Like, he kind of killed the Final Boss. So that's another thing that's kind of like, I don't know. But I mean, if it's going to be Punk versus Roman as like the final two, or at some point, it makes sense that The Rock would be like the go-to guy for that. I just think that there's some other things that like don't line up to make that make sense,
I agree. I do agree. A lot of promotion like the men's, not the worst thing in the world. To me, it just seems that because of that, we're going to see a lot more legends and NXT call ups in the women's Rumble compared to the men's.
Yeah, so I was trying to think, like, I think for the men, like, the only one that I could think about that, like, might return is Randy Orton. He's, like, the only one that I could think of that might be a surprise return for the men. I think more surprises are going to come from the women. We know that Charlotte is gonna be there. It's almost certain that Becky Lynch is gonna be there. I also feel like it's almost certain Alexa Bliss is gonna be there. Jordynne Grace is gonna be there. I would not be surprised if Roxanne is in it, because it felt like she was, like, on her way to getting called up. Wouldn't be surprised if Nikki Bella is in it just because of everything that they've been talking about. However, I feel like if Nikki's in it, she can't be the only, like, legend, because it feels kind of weird to only have one in it. It just feels kind of like, why'd you take the spot of one girl that could have been in it? You know what I mean? Because it would be like, oh, she took the spot of like Candice LeRae or something, and that feels kind of silly. So it feels like you would have to have at least two for it to be like, okay, this was planned, this was a thing. I mean, we've been saying for weeks that it feels like it's Charlotte that's going to win. I don't want it to be Charlotte. I want Charlotte to win the Elimination Chamber, and that's her way to Tiffany at WrestleMania. That's her way to lose to Tiffany at WrestleMania. So I'm going with Jordynne Grace. Jordynne Grace debuts in WWE. She wins the Royal Rumble, and she challenges Rhea Ripley for the women's world title. That's what I'm going with.
I'm going with
EO.
Yeah.
I forgot about this. Yeah. I mean, this is a thing, but like I forgot AJ Lee. Punk, insinuated that she would be there as well.
Oh, all right. So I'll take that banner off.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't read the whole thing, but yeah, that was just another one that we might see AJ Lee. Although I still feel like we need to kind of be careful about that, because unless she's planning like at least a month or 3-month return, fans are not going to be happy if it's just a one-off. So, I mean, you got to take what you can get, I guess, but still.
Take what you take. You get, what the phrase is. I got EO. I think EO just is a wild card. I have no idea. And I know. I'm a big fan of EO, and EO versus Rhea would make money move at Mania, so I'm for that. Nathaniel.
Oh, sorry. I was putting this name. He Sol Ruka and Lola Vice. Go ahead.
Thinks Becky is going to be returning at the Rumble. So
Sam, oh my God, I can't even tell you how excited I am. Dylan likes the Jordynne Grace versus Ripley.
Yeah,
and the reason I even think that is because Jordynne Grace feels to me similar to how WWE approached Jade Cargill when she first came. It just feels like the second she's in the company, they're going to push her to the moon immediately. I mean, they basically did a lot of that when she was in the Royal Rumble match last year. They really kept her in there. They highlighted that she was the Knockouts champion. Like, she was in there for a while. So it was like, okay, that feels like that's what they'll do. And I feel like the easiest way to do that, like to the biggest extent, would be to have her win the Rumble. And Rhea doesn't really have anything going on right now. They took Liv away from her. She has like no enemies really. So to me, it's like, why not give her somebody that is like equal size, equal strength, equal power that people would want to see? And it feels like Jordynne Grace. And like I mean, the reason I don't pick Charlotte also is because I feel like it's too obvious for her to return and then go and win and face Tiffany. I would rather see her have to earn it, like lose the Rumble and then go through the Elimination Chamber. So that way we at least can say, yeah, she's in another title match at WrestleMania, but at least she like worked and had to earn her spot against Tiffany.
Correct. I got that. All right, so we got our predictions there.